WADR. Promoting dialogue.
It's 6 o'clock in Dakar, 7 o'clock in Porto Novo. Hello, good evening, and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world. We are live on WADR.org. Welcome to Newslink, and here are the top stories. ECOWAS to deepen negotiations with Mali to rescind its decision to exit the bloc by January 29. And Nigerian police force writes Amnesty International seeking public apology over reports on rights abuses during August protests.
The Nigerian police force remains resolute in protecting the rights of all citizens while ensuring the security and stability of the nation.
And Imani projects an $85 million cut in Ghana's government cost as President Mahama restructures civil service.
As promised by the president, if you go by this, then I can say it's on course. For now, for all intents and purposes, though it's early days yet, we have seen a reduction of the ministry.
And Interpol arrests more than 100 people involved in illegal exploitation of gold across 4 West African states. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Many thanks for joining us and a warm welcome to our listeners across the sub-region and beyond. Newslink begins with some development from the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, as it has reiterated its intention to open technical discussions with the Malian authorities 2 weeks before the deadline for Mali's official withdrawal from the regional organization. In a statement, the president of ECOWAS Commission, Dr. Omar Aliotori, stressed the commission's or the organization's desire to maintain a dialogue with Bamako despite the announced withdrawal. This initiative, which aims to frame an orderly separation, comes after a year of tensions marked by sanctions and the formation of Alliance of Sahel State AES and Mali's final decision to exit the bloc. Augustin Colley has more in this report.
The process that led to the current situation began in January 2024 when Mali announced its withdrawal from ECOWAS after several years of strained relations marked by economic and diplomatic sanctions. This decision was reinforced by the creation of the Alliance of Sahel States AES in September 2024, a bloc bringing together Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger, which was seen as an alternative to ECOWAS influence. In a statement, the president of the ECOWAS Commission, Dr. Omar Aliotori, stressed the organization's desire to maintain a dialogue with Bamako despite the announced withdrawal. A technical meeting is proposed to discuss the practical modalities of this separation, particularly on economic and security issues. The leaders of the AES, in a statement dated December 22, 2024, affirmed that their decision to withdraw from ECOWAS is irreversible, thus underlining their desire to strengthen their sovereignty in the face of what they consider to be an organization too influenced by external powers. On the economic front, Mali's withdrawal could affect intra-regional trade and access to community funding, while security coordination, essential in the fight against terrorism in the Sahel, could be weakened. However, though ECOWAS has granted the AES a period of 6 months to organize the implementation of this separation, while leaving the possibility for these countries to return to the organization, Senegalese President Bassirou Diomaye Faye in the coming weeks will visit these AES countries to facilitate reintegration and reconciliation.
Still on issues relating to the AES, the Alliance of Sahel States will tomorrow, Thursday, hold a ministerial meeting aiming to operationalize its development agenda. This includes setting up framework for the investment bank for member countries, namely Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. Ahead of Thursday's conference, Mali's Minister of Economy and Finance held a meeting of AES experts to examine priority actions selected under the development pillar. Abdullah Hassan tells us more.
According to Minister Alfussein Sanu, the meeting of experts was part of the implementation of priority actions of the roadmap of the Confederation of Sahel States to foster development. Sanu, in his speech, invited the experts to discuss, among other things, the creation of the Regional Investment Bank, the AES Confederal Levy, and the free movement of people and goods in the AES area. For the Malian minister, the AES is obliged to succeed, and the population must know that the Confederation is an indisputable reality. The meeting aligns with the mission of the first meeting of the Ministers of Economy and Finance of the AES member states held on November 25, 2023 in Bamako. During the roundtable, recommendations were made, in particular, the implementation of projects in the fields of energy, infrastructure, transport, and food security. Two key other recommendations were the creation of a stabilization fund and an investment bank. However, the fragile security and weak economies of these countries have regional financial experts cast doubt upon the feasibility of this project. Mali's transitional president, Assimi Goïta, Mali's transitional president, Army Chief Assimi Goïta, is expected to chair tomorrow's meeting.
Abdullahi Hassan filed the report. Now, current data from the Nigerian Statistics Agency reveals that the country's inflation rate rose for the fourth straight month in December, advancing to 34.80% in annual terms from 34.6% in November 2024. The agency said in a report that the uptick in December was due to increased demand associated with the festive period. Food and non-alcoholic beverages contributed the most to price pressure. Inflation rose sharply after President Bola Tinubu devalued the naira currency and cut subsidies in 2023 to try to lift economic growth and shore up public finances. The National Bureau of Statistics also added that food inflation stood at 39.84% year-on-year in December compared to the 39.93% the previous month of November. Though government expects inflation to significantly drop by end of year, that was not achieved despite the central bank consistent hike in interest rates to control inflation. Still in Nigeria, the public force has demanded a public retraction and apology from Amnesty International. This summons concerns a publication by the rights organization titled Bloody August, Nigeria's government violence crackdown on and bad governance protest. The Nigerian police force, in a letter dated January 6, 2025, refuted Amnesty claims of police brutality, human rights violations, and excessive violation during the August 2024 #End Bad Governance protest. The force public relations officer, ACP Olumuyiwa Adejobi, reviewed this in a statement issued on Tuesday. WADR's Usman Umar has more in this report.
The Nigerian police force will in due time be writing the Amnesty International to demand for a retraction of this report from the public space and with a public apology. The Nigerian police force remains resolute in protecting the rights of all citizens while ensuring the security and stability of the nation.
That was the Force Public Relations Officer Olumuyiwa Adejobi 3 weeks ago responding to the publication by Amnesty International. The Tuesday statement emphasized that law enforcement efforts during the protest adhered to global best practices with evidence including national media coverage demonstrating the police commitment to maintaining order and protecting peaceful protesters. Criminal elements who exploited the protests were reportedly arrested and prosecuted. The police warned that the publication undermines its reputation and demoralizes officers dedicated to protecting the public. It demanded Amnesty issue a retraction and apology within 7 days, failing which the force may pursue legal action. Amnesty International, however, maintains its position, alleging that police officers used excessive force during the protest, resulting in at least 24 deaths in states including Borno, Kaduna, Kano, and Katsina. The organization claims victims were shot at close range, with survivors sustaining severe injuries and others suffocated by tear gas. Peaceful protest over government policies is now a matter of life and death in Nigeria, said Isa Sanusi, director of Amnesty International Nigeria, calling for an independent investigation into the alleged abuses. The protests, which spanned August 1 to 10, were held against perceived bad governance, drawing widespread national and international attention. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Newslink is live on Facebook at WADR English Service as well as YouTube at WADR News. To other development, policy think tank Imani Africa is projecting that Ghana's government could save approximately $85 million over a 4-year term following a recent restructuring of the civil service. President John Dramani Mahama on January 9, 2025 signed the Civil Service Executive Instrument 2025, which reduces the number of ministries from 30 to 23. According to the new administration, the streamlining and reduction executed under the Section 11, Subsection 3 of the Civil Service Act 1993 aims to streamline governance, enhance efficiency, and cut costs. WADR's Nadede Tete in Accra has more in this report.
Ghana's President John Dramani Mahama has cut 7 ministries, reducing the total from 30 to 23 as part of cost-saving measures for the country, which is under an IMF austerity program. Key changes include renaming the Ministry of Energy to Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, signaling a focus on renewable energy and sustainability. New ministries such as Youth Development and Empowerment, Communication, Digital Technology and Innovation, and Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts also reflect priorities like youth empowerment, technology and cultural promotion. In a Facebook post, the founder and president of policy think tank Imani Africa, Franklin Kujo, stated that Imani estimates these changes could save Ghana about $85 million over 4 years, supporting a leaner and more efficient government. Political scientist Dr. Asasante has also welcomed the move but believes the number of ministries could have been reduced even further.
As promised by the president, if you go by this, then I can say it's on course. For now, for all intents and purposes, though it's early days yet, we have seen a reduction of the ministry and some realignment and the rest of them. It's a feather in a scarf, but we want to get to its logical conclusion where we see ministers, as he said, 60. But I have a comparison. Even though the president has promised 60, I believe that it can be done with 19 if we are serious about ensuring that the affairs of the state is rightly handled.
With a focus on sustainability and innovation, the government approach is expected to yield both economic and social dividends for the country. For WADR, Nadiri Tete, Accra.
Still in Ghana, the minority in parliament has called on the former government officials to boycott any engagement with the Operation Recover or Loot Oral Committee. The Oral is a committee set by President Mahama to receive and investigate all corruption-related matters under the EXO administration for accountability and probity. According to the minority member of parliament, John Dakar, its operations are unconstitutional and a violation of Ghana's legal framework. Speaking at a press conference today, he argued that Oral's activities overlap and undermine the functions of established institutions like the Public Criminal Investigations Department, CID, the Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, and the Office of the Special Prosecutor. For that reason, he believes that no serious country will entertain anything as such. The member of parliament, John Dakar, has been speaking.
The Attorney General designate is a law professor. When approved, he is going to be the chief enforcer of our law. When he appeared before the committee and was asked about the legality of this oral, he justified it. He justified the unconstitutional establishment and putting together of people who go about harassing former government officials. We believe that the establishment of that oral committee violates and flies in the face of our constitution. And so one would have expected that a law professor in the person of Dr. Ayeni would have condemned it. But rather, he justified it. Now his justification is now putting the work of the police, CID, EOCO, and special prosecutor, and constitutionally established bodies out of business. It is concerning, and we want the people of Ghana to know that no serious country will entertain anything such as this. And so if you are a former government official and you're invited by this so-called ORA, our advice to you from the minority is to boycott any invitation from the ORA team. We are not going to be part of it, because we believe that there are constitutionally established bodies that can investigate any so-called misdeeds of the government. What are they doing? What they are doing is to go about disturbing people, entering homes, taking vehicles, seizing vehicles, and more or less taking over lands from people who have genuinely purchased land.
And that's the Member of Parliament with Swami, as well as the Minority in Parliament, John Dakar. Now let's turn attention to Gambia, because ECOWAS mission to Gambia, ECOMEG, has a new commander who will lead the regional troops in the country. Commander Njai Juf, who will take over from Colonel Boubacar Tori, who has been leading the troops since last year. From Banjul, Sankole Chanko has more.
The new economic commander, Colonel Juve, a Senegalese, and his predecessor paid a courtesy call to President Barrow on Tuesday as Colonel Touré bids farewell to the Gambia, having served as the commander of the ECOWAS troops for the past year. They were accompanied to the State House by the Minister of Defense, Sering Modunjai.
The purpose of the audience is to bid farewell to His Excellency the President by the Economic Force Commander, Colonel Touré, who was assigned to this country as the Economic Force Commander. We also discussed issues that borders with defense and security, and also the economic deployment in this country.
He thanked the economic outgoing commander, Colonel Boubacar Touré, for his contribution to the Gambia.
Colonel Touré has served with courage and distinction. During his time, he has increased the level of cooperation and collaboration between the economic forces and also the Gambian defense and security sector.
Meanwhile, the new economic commander, Colonel John Juve, expressed confidence in his leadership and the continued success of ECOMEG's mission in ensuring stability and peace in the region.
I intend to continue from where my predecessor Colonel Touré left off, who did a great job here in the Gambia as ECOMEG leader. We've all heard the testimonies on the great job that he has done during his mission here. I hope to emulate him and meet the expectations of my country, Senegal, as the commander of the ECOWAS forces in the Gambia, which happens to be our sister country.
Colonel Juve promised to work closely with local authorities to maintain security and support the ongoing development efforts in the Gambia. ECOMEG, under the leadership of the new commander, is expected to continue its key role in peacekeeping and supporting democratic processes in the country. For Newslink and West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Sankule Janke reporting from Banjul.
You're still listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM Dakar, Senegal, and around the world. We are live on wadr.org. Here's a reminder of our top stories. ECOWAS to deepen negotiations with Mali to rescind its decision to exit the bloc by January 29. Nigerian police forces write Amnesty International seeking public apology over reports on rights abuses during August protest. And Imani projects an $85 million cut in Ghana's governance cost as President Mahama restructures civil service. Still ahead in this package, Interpol arrests more than 100 people involved in illegal exploitation of gold across 4 West African countries. We also have the guest interview and sports. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Let's continue the stories from Cote d'Ivoire, as authorities are seeking or asking people not to drink the water from the Noro River, which flows through several villages. These villages are located in the Lokata department of the southwest of the country. The sub-prefect of the area said the toxic product had been pumped or dumped in part of the river which runs through the villages. This is said to be responsible for the death of numerous species such as fish, stating that the water is contaminated. Francis Boniface has more in this report.
In a press release, the sub-prefect of the locality of Nyambezaria Lakuta in the southwest of the country states that the many species of fish in the Nyonoro River have recently died. The ecological hazard is the direct dumping of toxic water by unknown persons in a section of the river. Sub-Prefect Marius Beira is therefore calling on the population not to consume the water from this river, let alone any fish products from it. He urges residents to exercise caution, pending the results of analysis currently being carried out by the relevant department in Abidjan. The sub-prefect also invites the chiefs of the villages crossed by the river as well as community leaders to step up their efforts to raise public awareness on the issue. As a reminder, in May 2024, organic pollution caused the death of 2.6 tons of fish in the Bietri Lagoon, not far from Abidjan.
Francis Boniface filed the report. Now, the International Criminal Police Organization, Interpol, has announced the arrest of more than 100 people involved in the illegal exploitation of gold across 4 West African states. The countries include Guinea, Burkina Faso, Senegal, and the Gambia. According to a press release published on Tuesday, January 14, Interpol also disclosed the seizure of several mining products and illicit drugs. The items in particular include 150 kilos of cyanide, 325 kilos of activated carbons, 14 bottles of mercury, and 7,000 explosive devices. Interpol added that 10 kilograms of cocaine and painkillers were intercepted in these countries. The arrest is part of the International Criminal Police Organization's Operation SANU, or Big Cleaning, carried out from July to October 2024 through 100 agents in these West African countries. The International Criminal Police Organization, Interpol, highlighted the devastating impact of these practices on local population and the ecosystem, justifying the need for this vast operation.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Our guest interview is about issues of misinformation and disinformation on social networks in the fast-growing digital space amid artificial intelligence. The proliferation of disinformation, according to the 2024 African Center for Strategic Studies survey, opines that it is the fundamental challenges to the stability and growth of the African society, as a total of 189 documented disinformation campaigns on the continent were recorded. Our guest is Meliani Kuni with the Fat Africa, and she has been providing some techniques to verify information before consumption in order to curb the fast spread of fake news amidst artificial intelligence.
In our society now, you have the AI who give many misinformation in our country. You have many wars who you have this world just because they are the misinformation. So it's really very, very important for all people to know the misinformation in the information. Is the issue that they are Fact Africa. Fact Africa become to help people to try to do the best and to have the best information.
Issues of misinformation is really growing on the internet, i.e. on all social media platforms. What should be some of the techniques that the public should be aware of so that the public will be able to decipher or identify accurate information from that of a misinformation?
The first rule is all thing who is in internet is not true. This is the first rule. You can check everything. You can use Google research for the image. You can use OSIWA. It's one platform who help us to have many true information. So when you receive anything in internet, please check.
So the question is, how do they check? Because it is still the same internet that you're going to. If it is Google, Google is not on the same internet.
You can use Google research for the image, for example, and you can use OSIWA. OSIWA helps every people to check the information. If you don't know, you just put it in the word. OSIWA is the platform who can help us to check the information.
What are some of the challenges that Fat Africa faces in its operations, i.e. in terms of trying its best to really sanctify the public space of misinformation?
The challenge of Fat Africa is to help everyone to know the best information. You know that in our country, in Africa, I can say it because there are many countries in Fact Africa, you have many misinformation in information. So Fact Africa challenge is to help everyone to know the truth. It's not easy to make it because in one country they have the rule who catch the journalist, the fact checker, the blogger, so they can't say the truth in their country. But if you have Fact Africa, in Fact Africa, you can have many true and many true information.
Okay. Finally, before you take leave of me, please, all of these social media platforms, one way or the other, are
are made by the Western people, or Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, they are all not African-owned social media platforms. Do you think that it is high time Africa develops its own app, that the true story of the African is well represented on this app?
They have the apps for the African people, but they don't know this app. You can have if you go to Joko Labs, you can have the apps for the African who made it to help the people, to have the network, to have many things. You can have a platform like Job Link to help people. This platform is come from an African and Ivorian people who make it, but they don't have many communication about it. It's a war of the communication.
Melanie Cooney is with Fat Africa, and she speaks about some techniques to verify information before consumption in order to keep the fast spread of fake news amidst artificial intelligence. And we can join Sankole Janko for details in the world of sports.
Hello there, a warm welcome and thank you for joining us. The Confederation of African Football on Tuesday announced the postponement of the CAF African Nations Championship CHAN Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda 2024 to August 2025. In an official statement, CAF says good progress has been made in Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda with the constructions and upgrading of stadiums, training fields, hotels, hospitals and other infrastructure facilities for the hosting of a successful African Nations Championship CHAN Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda 2024. However, it states the CAF Technical Committee and infrastructure experts, some of whom have been based in Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda, have advised CAF that more time is required to ensure that the infrastructure and facilities are at the levels necessary for hosting a successful tournament. CAF will be conducting the African Nations Championship CHAN Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda 2024 draw in Nairobi today, Wednesday, 15 January 2025. The exact date in August 2025 of the commencement of the African Nations Championship CHAN will be announced by CAF in due course. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
And we have come to the end of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Maudu Juve and Omo Danyogo for the technical assistance. Do interact with us on all of our social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook at WADR English Service. I am Christopher Ticho. Good evening and enjoy the rest of our broadcasts.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, New Me FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio.